Alright, December 22nd, just around 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good morning and welcome back to Minteki.com for the chart of the day. Before we get into the presentation on the Audi Japanese Yen that you can see on your screen, I would like to apologize for the lack of chart of the day presentations over the past month, due to the fact that I was busy with the presentation of the Fibonacci Master Workshop over the last month that we just finished on Friday. I was not able to fit into my schedule the presentations for the chart of the day, but now that I'm out of the workshops for the next month or so, I will be busy here producing material for the chart of the day on the website. So let's go ahead here and get into this. What I'm looking at is an interesting setup on the Audi Japanese Yen. I have a blank screen here. The first thing that sticks out to me is this line right here, and this line is of course going to be our 4-hour line of supply. So first things first, what we're doing here is dressing up this chart, and that was just the first thing that stuck out to me, because I saw right away this point right here, I saw this point here, I saw this point, and I saw what the market has been doing lately here, and I wanted to go ahead and see what's been happening in there. Now, before we can start to look here at what's happening, let's just take a look at what happened in the past. Alright, and first off, what points out to me here is a nice move in the screen right here to here, a pullback, and we can see continuations throughout. So I want to prove that point there in the market so I can see what is happening from this point on. Alright, now first thing that I'm going to do is just go ahead here and grab this first point. Okay, make there a nice 3-2 retracement, and then after that I want to place my fib expansions and see if a payment of a fib expansion is what stopped that market up there at the top. Okay, and right there you can see that the 161.8 fib expansion is what started, or excuse me, what completed this movement at the top. So from here on, we know that we're looking at a movement south. Now, what happened here in this movement south is that I did not see a follow through of the Fibonacci's, and what I mean by that, once I clear up this screen here, is that this movement right here, we did not see a retracement take place that respected the Fibonacci retracements. And what I mean by that is when you take your fib retracements of this movement, you will notice that the movement did surpass that 61.8 significantly in the market. So what that means there is that this market is not respecting the retrace, and that this pressure here that is moving this market further south at these points is just created by that supply and demand in the market, which is coming once again from these points here in the market. And what that's saying is that there is not enough demand in this market to drive it up above that supply line. And what I'm looking for here is for the opportunity for this to occur at this point and to get a opportunity to go north. Okay, so what's happened here is that I'm not interested in this movement because it breaks the retracements. Alright, now if we continue on here, what we can also see is that this movement here north broke its retracements. So now I'm not interested here in this as my last movement. You can see a break right here, and you can obviously see the overall break here below the retracement. So this move here is now not valid as my initial movement. Okay, continuing on here, just working my way through this setup here, we come to this next point. I'm not going to waste my time placing my retracements. We can see that the market was not able to hold the retracements in there. Okay, now we can see here that we did have a hold of the retracements, a pullback, and then a movement come down to this point. Alright, so let me go ahead here and let me analyze what happened exactly at that point. So we have our fib retracements. Okay, we can see that there was a retracement that occurred on the movement south. Now what we want to do is take our fib expansions and figure out just exactly what happened in this market. Okay, and beautifully what you can see here occurring is that we have this market pay out a 161.8 fib expansion. Okay, so this was our last valid move here in the market. Okay, coming off of this movement right here. So what this could have been here is that this market took it sold off here. Okay, we were consolidating here around supply and demand until we had the bears come in and create a actual movement here where we had a nice initial movement, a pullback in the market for a retracement. Okay, came down here to the 100% fib expansion, a pullback again, and then a completion. So what you're looking at right there is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave count, which is my principal area of the Elliott waves that I keep. Okay, now one thing that I haven't done is I haven't placed my fib expansions. But first off, what I want to do is I just want to target out this movement, okay, and see if I can anticipate an overlap to occur. Now, there was not an overlap here because you can see that this is 300 pips away the top from that bottom. So there's not an overlap of the 233 or the 377. Okay, so there was not an overlap there. So this was not that strong of a movement, but we can still see that this market respected that 161.8. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because this is leading to the point of my analysis that I currently have. And that analysis is that what we have occurring at this point is that movement forming here north, that we need to break through this line of supply where demand will overcome the market, and we will see a nice rise here again in the price on the Audi Japanese yen. And what I did to this point is I led myself to knowing that this is a start point here in the market. Okay, and from that start point, what we can also see here in this market is a nice movement here. Okay, retracement for a pullback, and we're starting to see continuation. We're seeing this market here find hard resistance at the line of supply, which is something that we anticipated, okay, because we can see here what happened when the market found these lines of supply in the past. Okay, so what I'm looking for here is for analysis. We can see here that over the last 72-hour course of trading that this market has been trading north. So let's just go ahead here. First off, let me grab my retracements just to indeed verify that we did have this market respect retracements. Okay, we can see there at the 382 was the area that created support on this retracement. Now what we're looking for is to place our fib zone. So let me go up here and grab my fib zone. And let me just switch these since I'm going to be trading this north. Okay, so I have my fib zones in here. Let me just give it a click here to switch back. Okay, and now what I'm looking for is to set up for a potential opportunity to buy into this market north once we see a break of that supply line. So all of this analysis is leading to one scenario, is that we see a break here in this line. If we don't see a break in that line and we see this market continue to trade south off of that line of supply, then we're not worried, okay, and we're going to let go of this setup. Now, what I'm worried at is I'm looking at this. I've seen here the market strike this 1, 2, 3 times in the past. The 4th time coming here. I'm seeing nice momentum north. If I have and can verify a reason to buy into this market and set those limitations around my trading, then I'll have a trading plan. I'll look to trade it. So I have first off my retracements. Okay, I've placed my fib zones, and now let me complete this puzzle right here, and let me look for some fib expansion respect to come into this market. Okay, and what I can see at this point is a beautiful overlap here occurring at the 377 fib zone, and you can see that right there with the 127.2 fib expansion. So I have a potential area here in the market to look for respect to occur at. So what am I looking at exactly in this market? Let me move this here. What I'm going to look for is this scenario to occur. I have my initial movement, I have my retracement. I'm looking for a movement here to continue up above this line of supply. Once I get this line of supply, then I'm going to look for this market here to find a point where profit will be taken either at this 233 or the 100%. Okay, then I'll look for the retracement. So what I'm creating here is 1, 2, 3, 4, and then on that retracement, once I have my movement start trading north, I will place my retracements from this point in the market to this point, and I'll get my 3 lines in here, and I will look for price action bounces to enter every single time north here for the completion of this movement up to that line of the 82.3 price level, where I have the 377 fib zone overlapping the 127.2 fib expansion. Okay, this is how I trade, folks. I look for these opportunities, I set them up, I look for them on several pairs. Now, this market here may turn like it has the past 3 times at this line of supply and continue to trade south. If it does that, then I will not be interested in what happened. But if it does continue here up above this line of supply and we see demand overtake this market, then I'm going to very closely look at this setup here, because I've seen this setup, and when this setup happens it pays out, and I want to be there for that to happen, given that I also have a very nice overlap here at the 377 fib zone with the 127.2 fib expansion. So this is what trading is all about. It's about finding your strategy, setting your strategy, and then actually trading your strategy. Now, if this market turns and trades south, I won't just go ahead here and get in south because my market setup north didn't happen, because I'm not trading a strategy. What I'm just doing is throwing my money in there and hoping that the market goes my way. So again, if this happens, I trade it. If it doesn't happen, then I don't worry. It's just a great setup here in the market, and if you look in this, if you look for these type of setups across all compressions, you will see